Today's guest is a celebrated actress and scholar whose career spans iconic roles in the Bill and Ted movies, Dallas, and Days of Our Lives, to name a few. Please welcome Amy Stoch, an artist whose passion for storytelling shines both on screen and in academia. Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. It is such an honor and a pleasure to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much. I have been looking forward to this for weeks, ever since we set it up. So I'm very excited to be here.
Good, yeah. So I want to just jump right into it. We met at the Southwark Experience in Dallas on August the 3rd, that weekend of the 3rd, 4th, something like that.
Yeah.
And that was like, let me tell you, that was a dream come true event for me. I had never been. Adam tried to get me to go last year, and it was shortly after my husband passed away, and I just didn't have it in me to go. But I'm so glad that I went this year.
I have never been either. That was my first time.
Wow.
I had such a wonderful, I can't tell you how much I needed that for my soul and just for myself and just the family and being with everybody again and the fans, because I hate to call them fans, friends that were all there. Just they were so warm and welcoming, and we had so many great conversations. I loved every minute of that.
Yeah.
And so glad I was asked to be there.
I did too. And I'm glad you said that, because I kind of wondered while I was there, looking at all the celebrities that we, that we only saw on TV. Like, we only see you guys on movies and TV and stuff. So, and I was thinking, I wonder how much they're hating this, thinking, oh God, we got to go see the fans. But it makes me happy to know that you enjoyed it.
Oh, I think we all did, honestly, even though even the people that have been, go to these on a regular basis, no, everything from whatever I heard from anybody else, we just had the best time. And even when we got picked up from the airport, okay, I was in the van and I think David was driving, and he said, oh, we have to pick up a few other people. We have to pick up Patrick and Linda. I'm like, I was literally freaking out a little because I haven't seen them since we shot this in 87. So so I'm like, okay, right into the fire.
Yeah.
Here we go. And so we picked up everybody, and I was a little nervous. And Lee was there, and his wife was there, and all five of us were in the van, six with David. And as soon as we hit the freeway, we just started jammering and gibbering about everything, telling jokes, making fun of each other. And it felt like being on set again and driving to set or driving back to the hotel. It just felt so comfortable. And I just knew at that moment I was going to relax and have a great time.
Yeah.
And I got to tell Linda Gray in person how I really, truly enjoyed the one episode when she was the director.
Oh, wow.
Directed me.
Yeah.
And I said, you listened, you helped me as an actor. I said, you were a really great director for me. And she was so surprised that I said that. And I went, well, you shouldn't be, because you're very good. So I got to tell her in person.
Yeah.
It's something I've been wanting to do for years, And I got to see Patrick again.
That's always nice. And it's nice to hear you talk about them like I would, because of course, he was the only one I probably didn't meet, because I was so busy with Charlene and with Linda, and he was over the corner. He didn't have anybody. And by the time I got done, I don't know why, I turned around and walked out. And then I was like, I didn't get to meet Bobby. But, but Linda Gray is so kind.
She really is, yeah.
She was so kind. And I got to tell her, I showed her the picture of my husband. My husband, he was older than me by 15 years. So, he watched the original Dallas when I was a kid. With his.
I was on the original Dallas when you were a kid.
Yeah. I was like, I think I was like an 8 when it first came on or something. But, but he was a grown up then, and he watched it and he loved it. And his favorite character was Sue Ellen. And so in 2022, we went to Southwark, and I took him all through there. And he said, can I wear my Stetson? He had dementia, and he died from that. And he said, can I wear my Stetson? And I said, absolutely. So we went and done the tour, and I got all the pictures, and he sat down in the chair under her big painting, and that tickled him to death. And I showed her, and she was so gracious. She wanted to know his name. And so, it was just like, so to be there and to see all of the actors be kind like that. Let me tell you something. Not every actor is kind, like to
I
their fans.
I understand. I get that.
Yeah.
I understand that. For me, being a part of the cast, I'm an actor, and when I join a cast, and I tell my students this all the time. I say, I can't fangirl the other cast members because
Yeah.
we're on a different level. I want to
Yeah.
enter as a working colleague. So, I even though I agree, I watched the show since
Mhm.
day one. I can remember in college, and we would all sit down and watch, what's going to happen on
Yeah.
Dallas next. So I was very aware of the show. Uh, but just even just that first day and meeting Patrick and meeting everybody, and it was the ice rink scene, and I spent 8 hours on ice skates. It was great, and everybody was so kind and so wonderful. And what I want to tell people the most, and what I told the fans at the South Fork experience is, because that's what they kept saying, is you guys are so nice. You're all so nice. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, we're people,
Yeah.
we're not the, I'm glad you love the character, I really am, but
Mhm.
we're people, and we
Yeah.
love what we do.
Yeah.
And we love that you love what we do. So it's a mutual thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I even had a guy, Christy, I even had a guy come up at my table during that, and he just came right up and said, I hated your character, but you were so good at it. I'm like, yeah. But that's the thing, is that I love that whole experience. Was like, yeah, I love being on the show, and I love that you loved it too, but I'm just a normal person,
Yeah.
and I just love talking to people, and I'm glad that you all felt so comfortable, because
Yeah.
that's our job.
And I think that as fans, that's what we forget. And, I think that the reason that people have people are have the ability to be so cruel nowadays is because we see people, we're so far removed from the person, and you see stuff, like I see stuff. I don't go on TikTok, I hate TikTok, but I do see stuff like in the news or whatever, like let's say an singer who has gained maybe 15 pounds. Oh, she's fat now. Or she's lost 30 pounds. Oh, she's too skinny. And I think that because now we just, as humans, we just see people, we just see what they do. It's almost like they're not human to us until we meet them in person.
Yeah.
Because like all of Dallas, and even the Knots Landing ladies, which was the whole reason I came, those, Joan, Donna, Michelle, I was like, oh my God. But yeah. And so I just thought I would faint when I met them, but they were so sweet and
Yeah.
just so lovely. So,
Yeah. Here's a fun fact for you. I didn't go up to Joan Van Ark because I didn't have time, and she was always she was very not reclusive. She was very open, but she was always mobbed by people. So I didn't have a chance to go up to her. But one of my very first Hollywood shooting jobs was on Knots Landing. I played her as a 16-year-old in a flashback.
oh yeah.
So I played Joan Van Ark as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And I just, I remember meeting her back then, and she was very nice. She's like, "Oh, she's too pretty to play me." I'm like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding
Yeah.
me. You're beautiful." So that was really cool about that, and just kind of, having that kind of little connection. But I
Mhm.
think what you're saying is true about TikTok and the internet and all this. Unfortunately, because I deal with it a lot as a teacher. I deal with a lot of, I teach up and coming performers and people who want to be actors, and really study the craft, and be a career actor,
Mhm.
right? So they're not in it for the glory, they're in it for the real career. And they see the effect that social media is having on them and on people. And we're just inundated with a lot of times false images of
Yeah.
actors that we
Yeah.
may love. Back then, when we were all on Dallas, you didn't see us except for every week on the show, right? So it's interesting that you said that, and I
Mhm.
and I'm going to lock that away in my teacher
Yeah.
brain and kind of look,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
and
very cool.
I'm so glad you brought up. I was going to bring it up, but I thought I thought, well, she might not, might not be a big deal, but the fact, so okay, let me back up. I've watched Knots Landing ever since I was little. I loved it. My mom loved it, so I'm just have always been obsessed with that show. And so Valine is my absolute favorite character. Nobody has a heart like her. Nobody loves like her. And so that scene, she had ran off to Tennessee when she was at the diner, and it was so busy. She had that flashback. Well, that's one of my favorite scenes in the whole entire series because Gary comes back and he's the one that brings her back to reality. And so I had no idea that that was you. And so when I was reading about you and I saw that, I was like, oh God, that's her. And not too long ago, probably a couple of months ago, I actually clipped that scene and put it on a couple of our Knots Landing groups. And I was like, because I belong to like a bunch of Knots Landing groups on Facebook because we're all obsessed. But I clipped that scene and then I was like, isn't that weird how like that was you? And like that's one of my favorite scenes of the whole series.
Oh, that's fun though.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah, that was, I think I had shot a commercial and then that gig on Knots Landing was my first like TV thing that I did when I first came out to Hollywood. And
yeah.
yeah, again, it was so lovely and they were so nice. And I went,
Mhm.
I like this. I'm gonna stick for a
Yeah.
while,
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
fun.
So I wanted to ask you about Dallas. I really want to get back to that because you you were on there for a while. And you played a villain. You played Lisa Alden and a villain. So what is funner to play, a villain or a good person?
I, I go for the villains every single
Yeah.
time. I'm not, there's just so much there to play with.
Mhm.
Um, and honestly, Lisa was not the worst villain I've played.
No, yeah.
I think Lisa had true intentions, and I think once she found out about Christopher and and wanted that connection and wanted to be a part of his life and wanted and I playing around with Bobby and all of that. And then what happened, what I think really happened is I don't think when they brought me on, I don't really think they knew which way the character was going to go. And a lot of that depended on fan response and people responding to the storyline and all of that. And I think after several weeks, they kind of figured out it wasn't going to work out as a romantic interest for Bobby. So let's bring in JR and have her be with him,
Yeah.
which I'm okay with that. I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, really? I get to work with Larry Hagman? Wait a minute. Okay. So I got to work with most of the big stars on the show, and I just every single one of them were different, and it was really cool. So when they changed my storyline to be that kind of more evil person, I was like, yeah, I like this a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to do this. This is
Yeah.
really cool. I mean, I got to stalk Christopher in a museum and take pictures of him.
Yeah.
I got to have a secret behind the door scene with Larry Hagman. And I
Hmm.
mean, that reveal was really cool.
Yeah.
I hope people remember that
Yeah.
reveal when I
Yeah.
had a big
Yeah.
fight with Bobby and I go in my apartment and I shut the door and all of a sudden
There's
you hear
Shayla.
a voice. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh. So
Oh
that,
yeah.
yeah, no, I really enjoy that. It gives me more to play with.
Hmm.
I always tell people, and I don't want to disparage anybody who plays the nice people. Um, but I always tell my friends that I would much rather be someone evil than
Hmm.
a coffee pourer, come sit down, tell me your problems. So
Yeah.
that's just not me. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just not my personality.
Yeah.
So I am much better being the evil person. So
Yeah, I think that it would be, there's just so much more that you could like it's like you can go deeper.
yeah, and plus, yeah, to go deeper, and that's exactly it. Because, like I said, Lisa was not a totally evil person. She wasn't.
Yeah.
She did have a heart. She did love Christopher,
Mhm.
and she wanted to be a part of her life. And I think that whole mixing up with JR and everything, but she redeemed herself at the end by stepping away,
Mhm.
by going, we're done. And that last scene with Christopher, oh my God, with Josh,
Yeah.
ah,
Yeah.
that little boy could really act. He was
Yeah.
he was right there with me, and it was.
Yeah.
I still remember that scene. It kind of broke my heart, and that's what it should have done. It
Yeah.
was really lovely.
Yeah. So when you got that role, I mean, Dallas is like one of the biggest shows. I was going to say like of that decade, but really of all of TV, history of TV, and Larry Hagman. Wow. So I mean, the show was already a hit. How did that feel? Like when you got the call and they said you got this part. I mean, did you just were like, oh my God, like how did that feel?
Oh boy. Okay, I'll try to keep this short. Whole progression of me getting this job, it was a quick call. So it wasn't the usual callback, screen
Yeah.
test. No, it was one call by the casting director. She called in 10 different people from 10 different agencies, one read, put you on tape, and that was it. Right. So you got it or you didn't.
Right.
So I was there. and my friend was there, and we both looked at each other, and she said, I'm leaving tomorrow for Hawaii to get married. And I
Oh
said,
my
okay, well, I'm leaving tomorrow for a Greek Isles cruise because my boyfriend just won it on Press Your Luck, and we're going, right? So to make a long story short, I was in the middle of the Aegean Sea when I got a cable to the ship because cell phones obviously weren't in existence.
Uh-huh.
We got a cable from the ship. I had to go up to the captain's deck, get this cable, and all it said was call your agent. That's all it said. I turned to Bob and I went, oh, I think I just got Dallas.
Oh
And I'm in the
my
middle of Greece. I'm like, oh my God.
gosh.
Okay, so we hit roads, we land on the island. Bob and I are running around the island trying to find anybody who spoke English at that point and to find a telephone. We finally get one at a hotel, and I knew time difference and all that. I couldn't call my agents in LA, so I called my mom in Cleveland, knowing that my agents would probably call her. I called my mother. She answers the phone. I go, "Hi, Mom. It's me. I'm calling from Greece." And the very first words out of her mouth were, "Did you know you got Dallas?"
Oh my gosh.
And
Oh
I
my
went, "Yeah,
gosh.
hi, Mom. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm alive and Greece. It's fine." So that was her reaction. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a whirlwind. We had to get off, we had to leave the cruise. We had to fly out from Istanbul to Rome to New York to LA. I had like a couple day turnaround to do laundry, pack, and head down to Dallas and
Wow.
meet everybody for the first time. And
Wow.
that was it. I
Gosh.
met everybody I met Patrick at my costume fitting, and then gradually met other people in Dallas because we were there shooting the outside scenes for about 13 episodes. So that's how I got this part. It
Wow.
was like that. And it was, it was a whirlwind.
Yeah. You
And all
know,
of a sudden I was in Dallas shooting and going, oh, wow. So,
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine being just like, I mean, of course you had acted a bit before, but I mean, just really kind of being a regular person, then and boom, all of a sudden you're on the most popular show,
yeah.
in the world. I mean, in the whole
I,
world. So,
it just, but that's what I was saying before and the best advice I can give young actors is you can't enter it as a fan. You have to enter that work as a working professional
mhm,
because you'll blow your chances, and
yeah,
it's that's not what you're there for.
yeah,
And yes, it was huge. And I let my mom and dad have all the glory. They were giving parties and they were like telling all their friends. I'm like, you guys go. I
yeah,
have to get to work.
yeah.
I had to. I had to.
Mhm,
For me personally, I couldn't just be amazed at it all. Although
mhm.
we're walking onto the South Fork Ranch for the first time, yeah, that was pretty huge. And then I did a scene with Barbara Bel Geddes, and I had been a fan of hers. Yeah, very respected. She was an amazing actor.
Mhm.
Respected her work, and I got to do a scene with her. And after we were done doing shooting the scene, she just casually looked at me and she said, "You're a very good actress."
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Wow.
I think I died just a little bit at that
Yeah.
moment. I was kind of like, "Oh, thank you so much."
Yeah.
I that was cool.
To have that validation from somebody that you respect so much, it means a lot. When I was in Dallas, I'm an author too, and my last three books were children's books, and they have like
Oh,
an anti-bullying theme and all of that. So
cool.
I took all three ladies from Knots Landing, all three books, and I signed them, and I gave them to them. And then the next day, when I walked to Donna's table, I just said, thank you for accepting my gift. She leaned into me, and I swear, I'm trying not to cry. She leaned into me and she said, Christy, she called me by my name. She said, Christy, you are so talented. And I could have just died right there because to have somebody that I've loved all my life and respect so much, and to know that she's so good at her craft, tell me, she said she read them that night, that I gave them to her on Saturday. And this was Sunday when she told me. But to have her say that to me meant everything to me. And I finally felt, like my son is like, oh, mom, your books are good, or my friends. But, and I appreciate their feedback. But when it's somebody that you just, wow, I mean, I was like, wow, maybe I am a good writer.
Okay, and that's exactly what you should do with a comment like that because you are
Yeah.
apparently because you impressed someone that you're impressed by. So
Yeah.
give yourself some credit for that.
Yeah.
That's lovely. That's
So
huge.
I know exactly how you feel when you said Barbara Bulgetti said that to you. I mean, it means so much. It really does touch your heart. And it's something that you'll never forget and I'll never forget.
Right.
So yeah. Um, but also I do want to say this too. I'm glad that you brought up about the craft itself, because every performer, actor, actress, whoever I have, dancer, whoever I've ever had on my show, every single one of them have said, because I always say, when did you know you made it? And that's one of the questions I want to ask you in a second. But every one of them have said it's not about grabbing the golden ring or the brass ring or what. It's not about making it. It's not about your name and lights. It's about what you love to do, that performance,
Exactly.
And if you go into one guy told me he's a huge choreographer in Nashville, him and his wife, and he told me, he said, Christy, he said, if you chase fame, you'll wind up disappointed and you'll fall flat. He said, you got to do it because you love it. If fame comes, that's icing on the cake. But anyway, but I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's not about trying to be famous. So
I tell my students that all the time. I said, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a minor celebrity. I'm on no level a celebrity. I'm a working actor. I am proud to be a professional SAG-AFTRA working actor, and I have made a career out of it. Yes, I'm a teacher as well, because your career goes up and down, right?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I love my craft. I agree with everyone that you've spoken to, and you do it because you love it. Why did I get into this? I don't know. I was in second grade, from coming home from school from career day in second grade, and I promptly announced to my mother that I was going to be a movie star.
Wow.
And that was it. And she never let me forget that.
Wow.
And it just there wasn't a question. It was just I did plays all through school. I did choir all through school. I wrote plays. I studied,
Wow.
theater, history, whatever. I have 3 degrees in theater.
Wow.
I have all 3 degrees are in theater
Yeah.
and film and TV and all of it. And I cannot tell you the aha moment when I knew this was what I wanted to do, except
Mhm.
in second grade. It was
Mhm.
career day. And I guess I'll be a movie star. No question. Right. And it has never wavered. But because I also had the full on support of my parents,
Mhm.
they never backed down. I had friends, honestly, that I went to school with that their parents said, we won't support you. We won't put you through college if you study theater. They wouldn't allow that.
Wow.
My parents were like, yeah, go ahead, go for it. See if it works. If it not, at least you'll get a degree. I'm like, great,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I've been very lucky. I'm not, I've just been very lucky. I'm not horribly talented. I think I'm good at what I do. I'm a professional, which I try to teach my students, right?
Mhm.
But I've been very lucky and very grateful. And I
Mhm.
am proud to say to this day that I'm a working actor.
Yeah.
That.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because, like, especially to have known way back then, to just know when you were 7 or 8, and to follow through with it and to have a career as long as you've had a career, it has to have been just in you. It was just in you, you just
Yeah.
you just knew.
It's
Yeah.
it is, and I ask my students that too. I have a question on purpose. Why do you want to do this? Because this
Mhm.
is not easy to do.
Yeah.
You will not only financially and all that stuff, but personally, all the criticism, the critiquing of every single part of your outside being and how you interpret
Yeah.
lines, and that crying wasn't real enough.
Mhm.
You have to really put yourself through a lot. And so I asked them, why are you doing this? When did you know you wanted to do this? And their answers are pretty much the same. It's something I've always wanted to do. I
Mhm.
can't tell you why. So
Yeah. I think a true actor just wants to express, like what's in them, or maybe just bring a character to life. Listen, I run around my house all the time, just you know doing foot, like my son's told me for years, Mom, you should do voiceovers, because I do all kinds of different voices. So sometimes I'll find myself just kind of acting stuff out. But I think that, but I'm creative too, like an author. So I think,
I
if
was
you,
just going to say,
yeah,
you do what I do, but you do it with words. You
yeah,
create
so
people. So you create the people that I would then bring to life if you
mhm,
were to write a screenplay.
yeah,
So, I would ask you the same question. Where do those people come from in
yeah,
you? You
yeah,
know? And I think it all boils down to, for both of us, is telling a story. We have a
mhm,
story inside of us that we need to tell.
yeah,
We want to tell. We want to tell the human experience in our way.
mhm,
And for you, it's writing. For me, it's portraying these people
yeah,
and diving in, and the bad people, especially with the good heart, but they're doing bad things. And
yeah,
you want to know why. And
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, I love doing that. I love
Yeah.
telling the human story. So
Yeah, I do too. So I want to back up just a little bit because I remember after I got to looking up all your stuff, I was like, oh my God, I remember her. Days of Our Lives,
yes,
Britta England. Oh,
yes.
like, okay. So first of all, I think you've had a charmed life, a charmed career because like you're just going from like hit to hit. Because you
Did,
know
yeah,
Days of
for a
Our Lives
while.
when it was at the height of its popularity in 1986. That is huge. I mean, that was my favorite, daytime soap opera. Not saying it was my favorite nighttime, but I'll just tell you this, not to make it about me, but I'll just tell you what it meant to me and my friends. When I was growing up, my grandparents raised me. But anyway, they had one of those big giant satellites. Remember the big
Yes.
like dish?
Yeah.
They had that out in the yard. Well, for some reason, we were able to get Days of Our Lives a day ahead of what it aired on. So I would record it the day before, take it to school on the VHS tape, and our shorthand teacher, Mr. Murphy, would pull, he loved it too. He would pull the cart with the big TV and the VCR. We would pop it in. We wouldn't even do schoolwork and we would watch that episode that wouldn't be airing until that afternoon. All my friends thought I was the coolest ever. But that was during the time that you were on there. And we were all just like, so that character was really something. That was like, how did
It
that
was
feel getting
fun.
that part on a huge show?
That again, that was interesting because I had just had surgery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had surgery and I was healing. I couldn't quite stand up straight. And I got the audition, and again, it was go in for one call, and then you're going to be called back for, taped. So, my audition stories, man, I could write a book. But so my mom was out with me, helping me after surgery, and so she went to the, I went to the initial audition, and then I got, of course, the screen test. So she went with me to that, and she got to watch that whole thing, and I got to do the screen test with Steven, and that was great. And then I got the part, which is wonderful. But with soap operas, especially with the character that's supposed to have all of this back history with
Mhm.
the two guys, right? My first day on that soap shooting that soap opera, I was in bed with Steven, and then I was in bed with Peter. It was like, all right, get out, next one come in. I was like, you should put a ticker tape by your bed. I mean, I honestly, I had met Steven because of the screenplay, but Peter Revel, that was it. We
Yeah.
hopped in bed. I'm like, hi, I'm Amy. Nice
Yeah.
to meet you. Let's make out. So it was, again, it was tough work. It was, especially when the storyline got hot.
Hmm.
It was 30 pages of dialogue a night, and it was, go home, force feed it, memorize it, go back at 6 a.m. the next day, and then spend 12 hours working it, shooting it, having them cut half of it, at lunch and saying, "Oh no, we're cutting and pasting," and then you have to memorize it all over again.
Wow.
It was extremely rough. It was a good experience for me as a young actor. It really was. I learned a lot. I learned about a lot about me and about that kind of daytime process. I would probably say that I would not ever want to do one again because it was
Yeah.
just I couldn't memorize that quick. And I had just come from New York acting school, and I'm trying to do all this method acting. It's like, oh no, honey, just turn around and show the camera how you feel. I'm like, I can't do that. So
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a problem, but Britta was fun. Again, fun to play. She
Hmm.
had a heart. She brought, they brought on a brother for her, and yeah, she still had a heart, but she was this
Yeah.
spy, this,
Yes.
so I got
Yeah.
to play good and bad again. And what was cool about that, and I do tell my students this, again, no backstory. So I created my own. I went home one night and said, I'm tired of not knowing who this person was, or why she knows these people, or, why I'm all of a sudden fighting over two men. So I went home and I wrote a diary entry as her. I wrote journal entries as her, and I created a backstory for her.
Wow.
And
That's
that all came into play once, one particular scene. I'll never forget this one. It was a hot scene. We were all in this scene, and it was arguing and lots of yelling and lots of revealing. And I had all this backstory, and then I brought, the tears to it and all this.
mm.
It was a great scene. And after we were done shooting it, you could hear the producers were up here in this big booth up here, and we were all down on the sound stage. So you could just hear the door open, everyone running down the stairs, the door slamming, everyone coming to set to congratulate us on what a great scene that was.
Wow.
And you knew you'd done well when they
Yeah.
did that, which is
Yeah.
really cool that they did that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
So yeah,
yeah, that's great. I heard my memory is like my memory's failing me, but I heard somebody the other day, and he's a pretty big actor. I wish I could think of who it was. He got his start on daytime TV, and he said that is the hardest job ever because there's so many pages that you have to do every day. And it's not like tape and then the next week you tape. It's like every single day. So
yes.
yeah.
And it is rapid. And like I said, you put those emotions right out there. There's no thinking. In a lot of ways, that's a really good exercise for actors. Don't think too much, just do it.
Yeah.
Right. But yes, it was extremely grueling. It was
Yeah.
it was 12-hour days, 5 days a week, especially when our storyline was hot. And yeah, I did. I learned a lot. Days of Our Lives was really cool. I had a fan club. Woo! I
Yeah.
never knew that. But I did. I had created a fan club, and we had this great scavenger hunt. I had John Aniston as Victor Kiriakis.
Mhm.
I had him kidnap me, and all my fans had to go around and scavenger and find clues to
Wow.
find me. So that was
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, it was a good experience. And then you know, I was a bad girl. You can't have a bad girl with a bad guy. So, off I went, got shot, killed off the show. And so they could bring on the nice girl with the bad
Yeah.
guy, which is
Yeah.
fine. But I didn't care because then I left and went did Bill and Ted. So
Well, that's what I was going to say.
that was,
Listen, so Bill and Ted.
uh,
I mean, how, like, in case people don't know, so you were in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and then, like, there was what, two more movies after that?
yes, yeah.
You played Missy, the stepmom, the hot stepmom. That movie is such a cult classic now. Like, people love that.
I
I
know.
mean, so that's what I say. Like, you had a turn, like, you went from like this to that. Like, it's just everything you've done has just been like,
But
great.
isn't that great? Isn't that fun though? For me as an actress, yeah, I in the 19 what mid 80s, blonde hair, the whole thing, right? That was the look. And I could have very easily been very pigeonholed. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it was because I played Britta as a bad girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and played Missy as, this kind of,
Yeah.
I did not play her as a dumb blonde. I think that's why I got the part.
Yeah.
She just loved everybody and loved her
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
right? So I got to play that kind of blonde. And then I got to play Dallas, of course, with Lisa Alden, and I got to, hard and then nasty or whatever. And then I got to play Beth Dillon in a Western. I got to play James Arness's daughter. I mean,
Oh,
in Gunsmoke.
yeah.
I look back now because you can't look back on your career while you're still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But now as an old woman, I'm an old woman, and I am looking back on my career going, I went from that to that to that to a Western and then back over to here. I did
Yeah.
it. I was
Yeah.
very, and again, I'm going to reiterate it. I was very lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, like, and what you said about Missy, she had a heart, and she was naive, but she just, like, she wanted the best. Like, she really wanted to be a good mom, like a good step. It wasn't the dumb blonde. You really played her with a heart,
I
and
tried to,
yeah.
yeah. And that audition, the first one
Mhm.
for Excellent Adventure, I went back 6 different times.
Wow.
It was a very long audition process. I think the guys said they were auditioning for 6 months. They would
Wow.
be called in with different people. That's how they became such great friends
Mhm.
in the waiting room because they would
Wow.
talk about motorcycles and bands and
Yeah.
guitars and bass, and they became best friends waiting to go in and audition with other people, and then they
Mhm.
just put them together. So when I kept going back, now I'm going to be very blunt, very honest with you. I was not a bombshell. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I might have been pretty and I had blonde hair. I did not have the body for that part. I didn't have the chest. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. And there were so many jokes in that about, her looking down her shirt. So there was nothing to look at down there. Okay. So every time I went back, it was the same scene with the phone booth dropping behind her as she's watering the garden. So not a lot of
Yeah.
dialogue, a lot of reaction, right? So every time I went back, I tried to do just a little something different. And that's where the Missy mom look came from. Hi,
Yeah.
Missy. I mean, mom. Yeah,
Mom. Yeah.
that. And I every time I just tell everybody, oh, how'd you get this part? I said, well, every time I went back, I did something different, and every time I made them laugh,
Yeah.
and that's the key.
That's really smart. That's a mark of a good actress, knowing what I hate to say actress. I like to say actor because it
I
encompasses
do too.
everyone.
Thank you.
That's a good actor because like to know what, like to be able to sense what they're looking for, to be able to deliver that and know that you can like I don't want to say outsmart the others, but out act the others to the point you can
Yeah.
get it. Like,
Yes, well, while you're sitting in the waiting room, you see everybody else that's up for the same part,
yeah.
right? And so I automatically, this has always been me. I always judge other people like I'm not good enough. They're so much prettier. They're this, that, and so I would talk myself out of the park before I even went in the room. But once I was in there, it was just all about the work, and it was all about trying to find that little tiny difference, that little tiny thing that might make
Yeah.
them laugh. And that was so much fun. And then we shot the film in '86 and it gets shelved for 2 years because the company,
Really?
yeah,
Wow. It came
DEG went bankrupt. The production company went bankrupt. So our little film, which hadn't been edited together yet, was stuck in the vault for 2 years. And then all the litigation happened and whatever. And then Orion Pictures was able to go into the vault and pick whatever they wanted.
wow.
And they picked our little film. They just threw it together and put it out there in the summer. It was their best film of the year that year.
Mhm.
And all of a
Wow.
sudden, it's this big hit. And, everyone's talking like Bill and Ted, saying excellent
Yeah.
and the air guitar. It became, and again, because it was so simple and fun and
Mhm.
honest. And
Yeah.
it was just fun. We had, again, it was a family and we had fun.
Yeah.
And then we did Bogus Journey a couple of years later. And then in 2019, oh my God, he pulled us all back. And thank God I was able to go. But man, I am not Missy anymore, guys. I am old. But yeah, we did Face the Music. And it was a lot of fun to
Yeah.
be just to be back with everybody.
Yeah.
And now my boys are on Broadway. They're doing Waiting for Godot on
Oh,
Broadway.
I did not know that. Let me
Yes,
tell
they
you, I
are
love
staging
Keanu
it right
Reeves.
now, and they are running it until January, I
Yeah.
believe. So I'm hoping to
Oh,
get up
wow.
there in December and go see them on Broadway. So
Oh, good. That's great. Yeah. So I know, like, so we've talked about like the whole you do it because you love it, but was there ever a time when you finally felt famous? Like, I mean, I can't imagine that feeling like, oh my God, everybody knows about me. But was there ever a time that you realized I'm pretty famous? Like, you know,
no,
really?
no,
Not even right after Bill and Ted exploded? You didn't like, wow.
no, not at all. No, I don't ever think of myself as that. And again, like I said, I'm not a celebrity. I'm a working actor, and that's all I've ever felt. And again, Christy, I think I just told you that. I mean, what am I, 67? Almost, how old am I? Wait, almost 67.
Yeah.
And I am now looking back because of these types of interviews, and I've done a few podcasts in the past year or so, and then the South Fork experience.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back and I'm going, I am just as amazed at you all that you think I'm somebody. And, because I
Yeah.
never
Wow.
thought that. And so now looking back on it, I am pretty amazed at, again, how lucky I was
Yeah.
and the different types of stuff I've done. But no, I never ever considered
Wow.
myself as,
I'm like, how can you not realize who you are? How do you not realize you're Missy? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's easy to forget because day to day,
Yeah.
I'm just me, and I'm a teacher, and I am a mother of an amazing son who's a firefighter here
Oh,
in
wow.
Illinois, and I just, every day. So I'm not reminded every day of
Mhm.
what I did, or, I've got lovely pictures in my study here, and I've got all kinds of fun things that remind me of
Yeah.
my career. And I'm still trying. I mean, I had to self-tape an audition the other day and I kind of blew it, but I'm still out there trying.
Hmm.
And so, honestly, Christy, I hope it never hits me that I was a
Wow.
celebrity or a star because I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
I'm just not
wow.
there
But
yet.
see, to me, you are. Even the fact, like Adam was like, go talk to Amy. And I was like, he goes, just give her your card. I was like, she's not gonna want to be on my show. And so when you were like, I was like, oh my God. And so me and my son walked off because he was there with me. I don't know if you remember, probably not, but we walked off and I was like, God, she took my card. She was a, and I was just like,
It's so
I'm just
sweet.
like, yeah, I'm just floored even. And I think
That's
that's
so
part of the
wonderful.
reason I felt nervous when we first got started because I was like, oh my God, Amy's talking so much show. So, it's
You
just
never
like,
have to feel nervous around me. I
so,
love talking to people, and I love that you're so enthusiastic about the stuff I've done. I
yeah,
don't really think about it all that much, honestly.
yeah.
I mean, like I said, now when I put all my little mementos around here, going, oh yeah, I did that, didn't I? I mean, I did Gunsmoke. I used to watch Gunsmoke with my dad every Sunday night, when I was a kid, and then I got to introduce my dad to James Arness, and
Wow.
that moment for me, that was wow. It was like
Mhm.
watching my father turn into a 9-year-old little boy meeting his matinee idol.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looked like. And it's moments like that. And I guess so I was a fan. I was playing the fan, with my dad, with Jim and Jim Arness. But I'll tell you, I mean, we had so many amazing people. We did 4 movies of the week for Gunsmoke. Michael Learned was my mother.
Wow.
So we had so many interesting people. We had Jeffrey Lewis, we had Ally McGraw, James Bro. I mean, we had all these
Wow.
wonderful people
Yeah.
that came on the show, and it was just a treat to watch them
Yeah.
work, So
I know you from a movie. I mean, I'm sure you remember all of your work, but and the funny part is like on live or on YouTube, I watch it's called Retro Film Vault. It's a channel on YouTube, and they show all the old Lifetime movies, which I can sit and binge for hours on a Saturday or a Sunday. And one was on a couple of weeks ago called The Perfect Nanny, where you got the bookshelf,
oh
like the girl hit, Tracy Nelson knocked the bookshelf over, and you were
yeah,
like, ah. And I was like, oh my God, that lady's going to be on my show. but,
yep,
and I
yeah.
called my sister and I said, do you remember? She said, I remember that. So I'm telling you, you have been such a part of my life without
Oh,
me even like, and then to talk to you, it's just like, it's surreal. I'm like, what? Am I really talking
that's so sweet. That makes me feel really good.
to you? Yeah.
I love that. And that's what we all need more of, I think, is just that kind of validation that, yeah, we watched your work. We like your work. Just
Yeah.
like you with the books and what she said about your books. It's like, thank you. That
Yeah.
makes me feel really good. And I love that. And I love talking about what I've done in my life. I do, because
Yeah.
I've loved, I can honestly say out of all of the work I've done, no, excluding the auditions, because there were some really bad,
Yeah.
but the work I've done, all of it. I mean, I can't think of a bad experience
Yeah,
in
that's
all of them.
great. That's really
Yeah,
great. Not everybody can say that because, like, I mean, yeah, there's, things, we won't go
yeah.
into, but, part
Mhm.
of Hollywood, the ugly side that people have to experience. But I'm really glad that you have had, like I said, a charmed life in your career, your acting career. It
Yes, I
seems
have.
like, yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know, you were blessed. God looked down and said, hey, I'm just going to give her some good roles.
And I am truly grateful for that. I
Yeah.
really am. I just, God, I still love it. I still want to do it. I still am trying. And I did a Chicago Fire episode last year, which
Ooh,
was really fun.
wow, I didn't see that. I'll have to look that
And I
up.
got to
Yeah.
work with Christian, who plays, I don't even know his character on the show because I didn't watch it. Mouch on the couch. I don't know. He's one of the firemen. And when he and I did our scene together, we started reminiscing about being models in Chicago in the early 1980s. We had mutual friends. We're talking mutual. That's what I love now is if I get a job, there's usually someone on there that I know or I've worked with. I
Mhm.
did a music video a couple of years ago, like 3, 4 years ago now. Ezra's Green Green Grass. We did a music video. First one I've ever done. First time I ever dyed my hair, I dyed it orange for the
Oh,
video
wow.
because they didn't want too blonde. So I went, oh, I'll dye my hair. So I was like orange and shot this music video. And George Ezra is a big pop star in England. He's English, but then I guess over here he's pretty huge too. I don't know. He was young and cute and had a good voice. So that was an experience that I'll never forget.
Mhm.
That was so much fun. And what we did in the music video was fun. So it was a whole new experience for me.
Mhm.
So I'm still out there trying to morph into what comes next,
Yeah.
right? All these self-tape auditions. I miss going to an audition in person. I do. I don't miss all the driving
Yeah.
at all. But self-tapes are
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
they're drudgery, but you got to do them,
Yeah.
right? So I am learning how to do that so I can teach my students that this is what
Mhm.
we do. So it's a never ending cycle and a never ending thing of me growing into what comes next. And I really am looking forward to what comes next.
Yeah.
That's why I'm still trying to be out there and trying.
Yeah.
So,
It's
see,
such a different world we live in now, especially after 2020 and COVID, like everything
so
changed for
lot.
everybody.
Mhm.
Everything changed. Like now people do these interviews on Zoom.
Yep.
And it is different. And you do have to learn how to adapt and, move forward. So many people like, I don't know, people just don't like change. I don't like change, but to move forward in life, you have to adapt or else you're going to just get stuck and die. So, yeah.
I mean,
But
'cause life is going to move forward anyways.
yeah,
So
it
why not
is.
just hop on board and go with it? That's what I keep
Yeah.
saying. And yeah, we all help. Zoom. I told you right before this interview,
Yeah.
I used to have to teach on Zoom during COVID, and it just, even
Yeah.
this kind of meeting gives me anxiety because I hated teaching on Zoom so
Mhm.
much.
Yeah.
But it allowed me to move from Los Angeles. I love Los Angeles. I miss it so
Oh,
much.
wow.
I was there for 28 years, but my son was back here as an adult, being a firefighter. I had no idea who he was as an adult.
Yeah.
So COVID and Zoom and my school, AMDA, great school, Performing Arts College. I still teach there. It's the one in LA.
Yeah.
I teach online now. But they were like, yeah, we're going to stay on Zoom. So go ahead and move. So it
Wow.
allowed me to move. So all that horrendous stuff
Mhm.
opened up a new place for me to be and to be
Yeah.
closer to my son, which has
Yeah.
been so very important for
Yeah.
me.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to ask you what caused you to want to move from like full-time act to being a teacher? What made you want to teach
It was
instead
it
of like,
was strictly a change in the business. This was in the late 90s,
mhm,
okay? A change in the market, a change in my career. I was not working. I was still shooting commercials, but I was not working.
mhm,
I saw the writing on the wall and went, I better think of something for when
yeah,
I'm older.
wow,
So I went and got my master's at Cal State Northridge. I got a master's in theater history. And then when I graduated with the same year I graduated, my husband and I separated, and then a year later we got a divorce. So that was again more writing on the wall. My son was only 10 at that point, and so I applied to PhD programs and got into the University of Illinois. That's where I am here now in Champaign-Urbana. So my son traveled, we moved,
mhm,
and I started my PhD program, and he was just 10 years old. So he
wow,
finished growing up here, and it took me 8 years to get that dang degree. I tell my students, 8 soul-sucking
yeah,
years. It was really difficult, but yeah, I accomplished that. And
yeah,
now I am a doctor of theater.
yeah,
And it wouldn't be difficult at all because it's something I love, and I love
mhm,
history, and I love investigating it.
yeah,
So I am a teacher. That was basically a financial move because I knew my career wasn't exploding and it wasn't working. And I was never going to reach that level of I'm always going to be an actor
mhm.
at a higher level. So I had to do something to think about how am I going to make an income.
Oh,
So teaching was that step, but I wanted the higher degree because, like you, I don't want to teach little kids. I want college level, right? Anyway, so I did. And here's a nice, again, here's a connection, right? I just told you that Keanu and Alex are on Broadway doing Waiting for Godot. Well, I wrote the third chapter of my dissertation is on the play Waiting for Godot. So as soon
wow,
as they announced that, I emailed Alex and said, guess what? I wrote it on. So there's just this whole
yeah,
turnaround and this whole involvement of things that come around, go around, come around, and,
mhm,
and just kind of all fit. But with me, as I said, I can never remember a time in my life when I did not love theater and film ever. So studying it and studying its history and studying what people have gone
Yeah.
through to create these art, the restrictions and then the non-restrictions and what we all did to keep moving forward in this business, especially live theater.
Yeah.
So just getting the higher degrees and teaching it was the next natural step for me. And
Yeah.
I
I was
don't
going to
regret
say
it.
you stuck like you still have your passion, but it was really like really wise because you stayed with the acting part that you love, but then you found a way to like make money from it without, like in case you didn't get any more roles,
Right.
but to teach it, that was really like you have a lot of wisdom, like you really do.
Well,
So,
I was just looking out for myself because I
yeah.
knew I got a divorce and I still had a son to raise and I had to take care of myself. You
Yeah.
know, there was going to be no one else to share
Mm-hmm.
income with.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was a necessity
Yeah.
for me. But I was again, and I'm looking back on that time going, because going through it was hell. It was
Yeah.
literal hell.
Yeah.
It was a very rough 10 years of my life.
Wow.
But then I moved back to LA after I graduated, a couple years after I graduated. My son stayed here in college and he stayed around this area. I moved back to LA, and that's when I got on to Mr. Student Body President, a brand new Apple TV show. Ours was the first, right? So that was a whole experience. Then I got other jobs. I got a commercial. I got that music video. Then we did the third Bill and Ted's. And then I got involved with AMDA and started teaching there. And yeah, I had to rebuild a life,
Mm-hmm.
but I had the credentials to rebuild it with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm still trying to rebuild it. I'm still trying to, yeah, figure things out. But yeah, it's just, I mean, life is an interesting ride, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
it
just,
is. It is.
uh,
I posted something on Facebook this morning and I said, beauty is temporary. Like everybody wants to be pretty, beautiful, but that's temporary. But education and intelligence is lasts forever. It lasts until you take your last breath.
it
And
does.
and it's the most important, like you said, acting is like with singing or even with right. Listen, my last children's book, because I wrote the three, I don't even know that I advertised it, but they're on Amazon. And somebody said, why did you write it? And I said, because I love writing. Like for me, I just love to write. Even if I don't even sell one book, I just want to write that story. Maybe
Because you
somebody
have a
will see it.
story to tell. You
Yeah.
have this desire and this passion, and you have to
Yeah.
tell me what your books are after we're done interviewing. I
Yeah.
want to know
Well,
what those are. I want
yeah.
to get them because
Yeah.
children's theater is again passion of mine. I
Yeah.
love children's theater. So these, anything to do with children's books and
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. Because I wrote a children's book too
Oh,
many
well.
years ago. Yeah. So any kind of writing, but you need to let me know what those are.
Oh, I will.
But
Okay.
yeah, it's just this whole passion thing. And again, it just all boils down to we want to tell our human stories and we want to
Mhm.
move forward with being human beings
Mhm.
and deciphering what that means and helping others decipher what that means
Yeah.
for themselves.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you teach because, and I love the arts. I love the arts. I love music. Like I love that schools have, and I know well, I'm not going to bring up but anyway, I just don't want to see funding cut for the arts
I don't
because
either.
it's
They're
so
so
important to
important.
have
Yes.
arts because not every child, and listen, I know for myself, not every child, I never was good at standardized testing. I wasn't good at
Oh, I
math,
wasn't either.
wasn't good at science,
Oh, I wasn't either.
but
I
I was
hated those
creative.
things.
And so in
Yeah.
English class, when the teacher would say, write short stories, I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so I struggled with math and science and stuff. So not every kid is meant to, be Einstein.
No, they're not.
So
They're
we
not.
need the arts and stuff. But I'm so glad that now you teach that and give young adults the opportunity to
and
learn,
to and to do exactly what you just said, to make them know and make them feel that they are not less, that they are not inferior,
Yeah.
that what they love and what they study is as important
Yeah.
as anything else. I mean,
Yeah.
since the dawn of time with cave drawings, trying to tell stories and stories around the fires, we
Mhm.
have been telling stories. Why would you ever want to get rid of that
I
as a
know.
human
I know.
race?
When you said
We
that, I
need
thought about the
that.
hieroglyphics on the walls,
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need that. That is
Yeah.
innate in
Yeah.
us.
It is.
And it's who we are as human beings. And that expression in art, in any art
Yeah.
that you have out there, it's that holding that mirror up to nature. Here's who we are. Do we like this? Do we want to change? Here's how we change. Art helps us do that. I'm getting very passionate right now. I'm on my soapbox,
Yeah.
but that's what I do, is
Yeah.
because I don't want to have to justify it anymore.
Yeah.
Art is as important as anything else
It
in this.
is.
So
It
we need
is.
to keep it and nurture
Yeah.
it. And I hope that's what I'm doing with my students and
Yeah.
what they're doing as students in the art.
Yeah, I get really passionate about it too because I don't, yeah, and like I said, I don't want to cross over into any topics, like whatever. But, I'd seen something last week. I don't know. PBS is maybe losing, but I'm not sure. But anyway, like I was like, that's all I watched when I was growing up was PBS, Sesame Street, all the things.
I showed my son that all the time. The whole
Yeah.
time he was growing up, it was PBS with Barney and
Yeah.
Muppets
Yeah.
and just so many shows. And that's what we have to support. And
Mhm.
here's the theater historian in me. People have been decrying that theater will die, it will go away, nobody needs it anymore for eons, eons. There was a whole time period where, in the Western world anyway, theater was totally gone because the Catholic Church didn't want it and it was gone. Unfortunately for the Catholic Church, it was the Catholic Church that kind of brought theater back in by using it
Wow.
to tell the stories of the Bible, right?
Yeah.
So there were times when it did disappear, and for wars and whatever was going on at that time period, but it never died.
Yeah.
It never completely went away. There was always someone in the background doing it and keeping it alive
Yeah.
until it was reborn. And then we have the beautiful Renaissance with all this. I mean, I could walk you through that whole progression.
Yeah.
And then when radio came out, that meant that theater was going to die. Then film came out. Oh no, theater's dying. Oh, TV? No, film and theater are dying. Have they? I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
So there is just something in us as human beings that we need to keep telling our
Yeah.
stories, and that's the
Yeah.
only way we get to do it. So
I agree. I agree.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry I'm on my soapbox right now, but that
No, no, you're fine because
I am
listen,
very passionate about that.
I feel that way too. And I always talk about, I think on the last podcast I was a guest on Mike's podcast and I was talking about how, and I've always said this, like, I hate the standardized testing. And I don't mean to like stick on this subject, but I hate that because all children are alike. I remember being in high school struggling. Like my best friend was valedictorian, but I wasn't smart like she was.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. And I felt bad about myself because I wasn't. But, look what I'm doing now. I'm using the gift that I have, my gift of gab, to do what I do.
You're
And
writing. And
yeah,
you're writing. I
yeah.
No, look, I got straight A's in all through school, right? Straight A's. You put me in the standardized test, I scored just above probably idiot level. I don't know, maybe that's the wrong term to use, but my scores were horrible.
Yeah.
I can't take those kinds of tests. I would get anxious,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety. I would forget everything.
Yeah.
So no, I that was not my gig.
Yeah.
But classes or just doing stuff, and I was fine. But standardized scores, I'm surprised I even got into college. So
That's why I think that if we could get to a place in our country, like, which I don't know how we would do this, but anyway, in my mind, if we could get to a place in our country where each classroom, each school and each classroom had teachers who would maybe even multiple teachers in a room, but watch each child and see what they're good at. Like this kid might be good at math. Okay, then use that. But this kid might be good at like if he's or she's staring out the window, he's a daydreamer, like hone in on that, use that I used to daydream, but I was thinking of like stuff and and now it's coming handy writing books, but I just wish that we could do that. I wish that we had, instead of like, okay, 30 kids pile in a classroom and everybody has got to do this, and then when you go just leave and then yeah, no,
there are there are there there have been tried programs here. There are in other countries. They seem to get that down, but
yeah,
in our country with Montessori schools and private schools and there are arts high schools that focus on that. I understand that, but and I understand what you're saying. I agree.
yeah,
But one teacher with 30 kids and she's already, or he or she is already at the limit.
yeah.
but there is a certain bit of standard knowledge that has to be passed on. It just has
Yeah.
to, learning
Yeah.
how to write, mechanics
Yeah.
of writing, right?
Yeah, there is. I just, yeah,
And
I don't
math,
know.
basic math.
I just hate that. I feel like, a lot of kids just fall through the cracks. I
They
mean,
do.
especially,
They do.
like poor children and stuff like that. Children
They
like,
do. And that's why, with after school programs and
mhm,
programs through churches. And I was part of when I was at Cal State Northridge doing my master's, I was student worker for one of my professors, the Mid-South California Arts Project. And what we did was we would give workshops for elementary and middle school teachers on how to incorporate arts and theater
mhm,
in all of the studies, in
yeah,
science, in history. How can you incorporate? And
mhm,
that was our mission, was to show, okay, you don't need just a separate theater or acting class. No, but
mhm,
there are things that theater does do that you can incorporate into a science class or into
mhm,
a math class. That's what we need more of, is
yeah,
instead of separating them, we need more of them to come together and have it melding into an overall education.
yeah,
And I don't know how to do that either, but I
yeah.
agree with you 100%.
At my last actual job, like I call it my last real job, yeah, it was in 2023, and I worked in a residential mental health facility, and I did group therapy.
Um,
And so I always had once a week, like the drama, like the theater drama type stuff. We would either watch Hamilton or something like that, and then we would sit and discuss it and discuss the themes and all that stuff, or I would do like acting, and I would, have slips of paper like improv, and I would
yeah,
put them all in a bucket, and I would say, okay, you two get up and draw a piece of paper, and then they would have to act, and they would have to try to figure it out, and it really, and they were there with some pretty severe mental health issues like schizophrenia, borderline personality. Some of them had just come off drugs. So it was addiction recovery as well. And so that really helped them it was mindfulness, it helped them to put away what they were dealing with and just get that all kind of get it out,
exactly.
and I
And it
love
helped
that.
them not be themselves. It
Hmm.
helped them be something or in something
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And there's a whole field of study for drama therapy.
Yeah.
And when I was going through college in the late 70s, that was a huge program. Drama therapy was
Mhm.
massive,
Yeah.
using techniques of drama to get people to talk or to
Hmm.
get them to relate and to,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's so important. But
Yeah.
it's never going to be widely accepted. But like I keep saying, theater will never die,
Yeah.
knock on wood, but I just don't think it will. And now we're
Yeah.
fighting AI and we're fighting all of this. And I marched on the picket lines a couple of years ago with SAG-AFTRA, and all of this AI
I
stuff.
know.
Why would you want a computer to think for you
I
or
know.
create for you? I
I
don't
know.
get that.
Yeah.
Because if that happens, there is no more human brain. And that is my opinion. And I know that. But some of the creators of AI have actually said that as well. And so I understand there are some good things about AI. There are a ton. But when you have it creating and thinking for a human being,
Yeah.
no,
I
absolutely.
know. And see, as a writer, ooh, I get spitting mad over that because I'm like, and I had even put on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, I was like, if you use AI to write a book, you're not an author, you're a
Oh yeah,
poser. And I'm
exactly.
like, I'm sorry, but truth is truth, because like that makes me really mad when people will
I
write a book
agree.
using AI
I
because
totally agree. Do you know
yeah,
what I have to fight through as a professor? I have to, when I get a paper from a student, I have 4 or 5 different AI checkers I
yeah,
have to put it through,
yeah,
and none of them come back the right,
oh, yeah.
equal. They're all over the map. So you have to be a detective nowadays, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to read what they write in their discussion posts. Is that their voice? Is
Yeah.
that the same voice in his writing? And I tell them all the time, I'm not going to grade a computer. I'm just
Yeah.
not. If you want me to grade you and
Mm-hmm.
teach you, I will. But if you
Yeah.
turn an AI paper, I'm not going to grade that, because I'm
Yeah.
not going to grade a computer.
Yeah. It's,
And that's where we're headed, man. And
I
it
know.
makes me sick to my stomach to
Yeah.
think that's where we're headed.
It
And I
does
think
me
there are enough
too.
people out there like you, like me, who think
Mhm.
differently and who really want to keep the human brain
Mhm.
growing. So
Yeah. Yeah. So before I let you go, I was wondering, what do you have coming up that we could see you in?
Oh, well, take one of my classes at AMDA. That's about it. No, I don't have anything coming up, unfortunately. Reaching this age and this stage of the game, there really isn't a lot that I get called for. I have wonderful agents though, still out and still working for me. Firestarter, FSE, give them a little shout out. They do send certain self tapes.
Mhm.
That's how I got the Chicago Fire. I think I just auditioned for Chicago PD. That was
Oh,
the self
wow.
tape I did a couple
Yeah.
days ago. But it's going to be small stuff like that, and until and if
Yeah.
I ever put myself back out there full time, which right now I don't have the energy to do because of all
Yeah.
the teaching and just trying to adjust to being an older woman in this business.
Mhm.
So that's what I keep saying. That's why I said I'm looking forward to what's next because it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what that is yet,
Yeah.
but I will never stop trying. I
Yeah.
don't,
Are you going to go back to South Fork again next year?
I hope so. I
Okay.
hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know that I made them a lot of money, but I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was great. I thought it was great having you
Oh, no,
there,
it
you
was
being there.
great, but my
Yeah.
table was kind of empty.
Well,
So, and I
the,
wasn't a real popular character, but I had such a blast. If there is one, I really hope they do ask me back because man, I had a good time.
yeah, I'm sure they will. I'll tell Adam. I'm sure they will. So yeah, so I was going to ask you too, the last question. I always like to ask everybody what's on their bucket list. Is there anything that you haven't done that you would love to do, like that you would just say, before I retire, I just want to do this? I mean, whether it's in your teaching career or acting, is there anything you want to do?
In my acting career, I would love to do Broadway.
Oh,
That,
yeah.
that was the start. That
Love
was the
Broadway.
goal.
Yeah.
That was the goal, and that was the study. And then I don't have a singing voice, and I have two left feet, and now two fake hips, so I'm not a dancer. But I would love to do Broadway.
Yeah.
That is something that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, that I love Broadway too. Yeah, it's great. I love a good Broadway show. So, listen, I want to thank you so much. Stick around, after I say the outro, but I just want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Like, you don't know what this means to me. I mean, I'm just like, I've been starstruck. I've been fangirling because, like I said, I've known you or known of you since I was, a teenager. So, yeah, so it's just amazing that you would agree to be on my show, and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you asking me because it's always fun to talk about
Yeah.
what I did and what I'm doing. And I love it. I just love it. And I love that you know so many. Knots Landing. How did you know that one?
Oh,
That's
honey,
cool.
let me tell you, because first of all, I can tell you, like, I could probably sit down and write like a Knots Landing Bible, which I actually did write a treatment for it. And I took it to all three women. And Donna mentioned it on their podcast about 3 weeks ago. She said, a lovely woman, Christy Adams Hatfield, wrote a treatment for a reboot. And I've got the whole first season laid out on my laptop. Like, and
Okay.
she told me, she said, if we can, because they want to do it. And she said, if we can find somebody to do this, well, I've already checked. Warner Brothers owns the rights now because, of course, Laura Meyer's out. And Warner Brothers is right in the middle of a split because I have 4 shows that I have. My production company has submitted 4 shows to Warner Brothers Discovery and like to HGTV, to different networks on there. And we're waiting here. And so right in the middle of the summer, they went through a split. That's not going to be fixed until mid 2026. And so the
Oh,
hosts are calling me going, what have you heard? And I'm like, I haven't heard anything yet. So,
well, don't let it die. Keep
yeah.
pushing.
So,
Keep pushing.
yeah.
Because
So, but anyway,
if the
yeah,
ladies
I'm
are
just,
interested in it, that is like 75% of the way there, man.
mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
So just keep trying and
Yeah.
just see what happens. And
So,
pull me on as a guest star.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I would. Absolutely. I could write you in as Valeen's sister that they never knew existed.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I could do that.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Because I already look like her. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah, and you already played her, so yeah. But anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you,
Just stick around
Christy.
for a second. So, thank you all for watching today. I know you have enjoyed Amy as much as I have, and tune in again next week for another exciting episode.